We want to welcome you back to Contemporary Black Voices. And again, I want to thank a friend of mine, Dr. George Johnson, for being our guest for today. So today, in this segment, um, my colleague next to me, Fred Williams, has a question he wants to throw out to the panel.
Yeah. What does he mean by language of culture? And what culture is he talking about? Is he talking about a religious culture? I know he's not talking about a music culture. Or is he talking about the black culture as a totality?
I think he's talking about as cultures change, okay? We are an evolving culture. And I think that what I think he meant is that when you have the culture is changing, you've got to talk to the culture that you're preaching to. If you continue to talk to the elderly culture that you're preaching to, then you're missing part of the people you should be talking to.
So then he's talking about by age culture. Is
Well,
that what he's doing?
well,
Talking about age culture?
one of the benefits of the pandemic lockdown, it forced a lot of churches that were hesitant from using the internet, YouTube, to do their services. And so that is a cultural change to where you're using social media to promote a message. And that was something that a lot of churches weren't doing beforehand. Uh, and so I believe that what George was saying was, and one of the questions I asked him at the end, I did it on purpose because I wanted him to talk about how he has leveraged Facebook to communicate a message to people beyond his church walls.
Which is a change in the language you're talking about.
So then that is a culture of younger people or people who are on social media?
Well, the thing is, we've got churches, in this city that are, I'm going to use the word dying, or the congregations is not growing because they're still holding on to how things used to be. This is the way we've always done it. This is the way we're going to do it. And so what's happening is, as you're saying, younger people are moving out to other churches or other locations to where it's more attractive to them. They're getting the message, but they're seeing and being presented in a way that's more accommodating to their learning styles. And so if churches want to continue to press forward, they're going to have to think of other means of doing the messaging if they're going to try to help that church to grow.
Okay, so still trying to figure out what culture he's not talking to black culture as a totality.
I think
is what you're saying.
I think he's just talking about you have to change your language of how you deliver messages. It's just like me teaching online. I could have taught face to face for a long time, but there was a whole group of people out there who couldn't afford to go to face classrooms, so they had to go online. So the delivery of the message had to be done differently to attract these people. And again, we got a lot of churches in San Antonio who are losing membership because they're holding on to how things used to be.
Yeah, I was struck by when he talked about the integration of the church, bringing other races into the church. And maybe what struck me was our conversation weeks ago: is integration good? And I think you kind of took the position, no, it's not good. So if it's not good, if integration isn't good for us into the larger society, is it okay integrating into our churches? That's, I guess, reverse integration.
For me, I say integration is okay within the church, except for if church is going to be where you learn, okay? If it's going to be a learning place for us, then anybody who else is coming in, they're coming in with the assumption that they're going to learn about our race, and that's what they're going to learn.
Well, then you're not worried about, on the larger scale, the integration is nothing but domination of the majority race.
That's correct.
So is that going to happen in the church? The more you integrate, or majority race going to take over the church?
Well, I mean, I that's two different things. And one, I'm not integration is okay from the standpoint as long as we're able to keep our own, as long as we're able to keep our own economic block, integration is fine.
Right.
But as far as integration in the church, churches shouldn't be I mean, if you're going to go to church to get a message, I don't think that it's not a black message, it's not a white message. It should just be a good message. It should be a good message about humanity. So I think as far as integration to the church, and if you look at the message that should be given, integration shouldn't affect the church.
And let me say this. Oh, go ahead. Were you gonna make another point? Go ahead.
No, it's just going to take it. No, go ahead. You changing
Okay.
the subject?
Well, I wanted to say, if you're talking about being able to attract more younger folks, I think you've got to have that black message that you're not talking about. You're saying it's not black, it's not white. I'm saying, yes, it is black, and especially to be able to bring folks back into the church, you're going to have to do something that's different. If you're going with the prosperity, if you're going with the integration, you're going with everything that the trends are going with today, that ain't getting it. You're going to have to go with something different. You need to change that picture in the church of the white Jesus to the black Jesus. You need to do something else, because at that point, those students who are young with the sagging jeans will come to church and they'll say, I can identify with that. Right now, when I talk to them, they say, we can't identify with what the church is telling
I mean,
us.
I'm not talking about iconography. I'm not talking about the image
Talking
that's
about
in the
what
church.
was that word?
Iconography. I'm not talking about the images that are in the church.
hell is
What I'm talking about is Jesus' message, his central message. And it's not a black message, it's not a white message. It's a message. And it should be a message that appeals to everyone.
He threw one out there, didn't he?
I don't even know what that means.
That was a curveball.
Iconography.
But you know, one of the things that, one of the questions that I remember asking George, we were talking about the hesitancy of just talking about the black presence in the Bible. So there's a book out by I can't think the name right now, but it's called "The Bible is Black History," and it started out. The guy who wrote this book said he started this project talking to some of the younger members of the church, because he was trying to find out, you're not coming here, where are they going? They're not coming here, where are they going? And so he talked to millennials, high schoolers, just to try to figure out what's going on, why are you leaving? And they were telling him that they are not seeing themselves, in the Bible. They're not seeing themselves, they just don't feel connected. And so what started out as a 4 to 5 week discussion really became a 9-month project. So I think that we can integrate into church, but I think that when it started out as a predominantly black church that is slowly going through the process of integration, that it's important that this black presence of the Bible is communicated if we're going to still try to keep these younger folks coming into the church.
No, that's interesting. The three of you are for integration into the church, but separation into the larger community.
Well, what's happening is that, okay, so I don't know if we're politicking to go, to integrate, but a lot of folks like our message. They
Right.
like our songs.
They like our
They
music.
like our music. And so they're coming into the group. They're coming into the majority sector, which in this case is a predominantly black church. But I think, again, I can't think of his name. I think his last name was Dalton, I think. That he was saying that a lot of these young people are just not seeing themselves in the messaging.
And let me go one step further. To all Christians, first of all, I am a Christian, but I want to say the message that I want to convey is that we need to open our minds. And when we open our minds, we need to talk about
Mhm.
what is being taught to us, and is it really relevant to what's happening today?
And on that point, we're going to go ahead and take a break and come back.
All right.
Good conversation. Good discussion.
Hey, he said when we see that, we start.
You know how
No,
being
it
a
comes
pastor
back
is
up.
not
Oh, when
easy.
it comes back
It
up
has
again.
its
Okay.
rewards and
We're
its
going to
challenges.
church.
Our faith without work is dead. Join us as we host the Black Worship 12 Clergy Hall of Fame Dinner, March 6th at SBC Community Center. Together, we will induct Reverend Dr. Lester J. Gillespie Sr., Greater Love Missionary Baptist Church, and Bishop Jeffrey Stirrup of Dominion Church of God in Christ. Another night
I
to
never heard
remember
of that
with good
church.
music, food, and fellowship.
What
Oh.
was
Your
the
tickets
second one?
today at
Oh, yeah, it's over on
blackworshipsa.com.
Martin Luther King.
Hello, this is Cornell. with
Very
Franklin.
arrogant
Hi
minister.
there, this is Terry.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Good evening. This is Franklin.
Is that what the
Robert
guy's
with
getting an
Frost.
award?
Hello, this
Probably,
is Rosemary
yeah.
with Frost Bank.
After this commercial, then there's gonna be the BDN, and then we'll be on 5 seconds.
Okay. Somebody's got to say, we're back.
That's you?
Sharon's
Nothing to
still-
do this week? Don't miss
Last
another
commercial,
event.
you got 5 seconds.
Go
after
to
this one.
blacksinsanantonio.com for our event calendar. The home of the largest business directory in San Antonio with an African American focus. Sign up today for our weekly e-blast and text message alerts. Help us make this a better community. Connect, empower, grow.
We are back. So I forgot who was talking.
Fred.
Fred?
Chris.
No, you were, but I'm ready to talk.
Okay, well, go ahead and talk.
Yeah, this guy,
Look, God.
I don't follow these people,
oh, okay.
but he quoted this Skywalker, somebody,
Yeah,
Luke
Luke Skywalker.
Luke Skywalker. And Luke Skywalker says, I'm glad DeSantis passed that bill because now it makes me teach my kids. Why would he? You know, it's like Marcus Garvey going to meet with the KKK back in the 1920s to convince people that they needed to join his movement because the KKK is the worst enemy of black people. Well, DeSantis is almost there. So why would he compliment this? I could see DeSantis taking that piece, not doing the rest of it, just that piece, and using it in the future when he runs for president. Maybe try to get black folks and black folks who are, I won't say it, following this Luke guy.
Let's assume,
Yeah.
let's assume that Reverend Johnson didn't say what he said because nobody should be quoting Luke Skywalker.
So in defense of Luke Skywalker,
Okay, this is gonna be good.
in defense of Luke Skywalker, and going back to when Dr. Diop was on the show with us,
Uh-huh.
okay, one of the things that I have to agree with what Luke Skywalker said was that, and he didn't say this, but you have a lot of black parents who have been more dependent on the school system
To teach their kid.
teach the kids versus them teaching the kids their black history. So now we're at a critical point. We're at a very, very serious intersection here to whether we just say, okay, our kids won't learn black history and we don't teach anything, or it becomes that forcing point that we need to teach our kids.
And I
So-
agree with you. Go ahead.
So, shouldn't white kids learn about black history?
Yeah.
Well, again, I'm not saying that white kids should not learn black history, okay?
Well, that's what he
But the
said.
way a lot of these politicians are going, that they're trying to remove black history from the classroom. And knowing that black history is the history of the United States, there's going to be a lot of kids who are going to grow up not knowing that history because the politicians want to, with these anti-woke bills, try to eliminate it. Even in college, they're trying to get rid of DeSantis is trying to get rid of diversity, equity, inclusion degrees. I didn't know those occurred. He's trying to get rid of degrees, critical race theory degrees. And I said, I really haven't heard that one before either, right? So they're trying to eliminate any discussion of Black history that makes them feel uncomfortable. Down in Alabama recently, the school district down there told the Black kids, okay, you can have a Black history show, but you can't talk about anything prior to 1970. So they're trying to whitewash Black history. Yes, a lot of white kids are going to be weak in not knowing that history, because I don't know too many kids who can't take it.
Let me tell you what I think is going on. What I think is going on is Black America, the least we do, the more white folks are taken away from us. And we had better wake up and understand that this is going on. If we don't teach our Black history in churches, which we just talked about,
Right.
if we don't do the different things that we need to do, then they say, well, the hell with them. Let us take it away from them. They should be doing it their own self. So we have the opportunity to be able to do a number of things that I think for ourselves. We've got to begin to look within ourselves and decide what we're going to do. It's up to us if it's going to be about us.
And the other thing is that the internet. We want to talk about, okay, what do they call it, metaverse, the internet, whatever. And we want to make sure that we can do all the things here, in a more tangible space. However, that internet, we can be setting up online Black history schools. I know that some people have like K-Knowledge, which I have an account, and they have a phenomenal library of Black history information. So here in San Antonio, the San Antonio
K-Knowledge or K-Narrative?
K-Narrative.
Okay.
K-Narrative. Here in San Antonio, the San Antonio African American Museum, they have a website where they have they're trying to capture the voices of African Americans, and they also have like little bitty snippets of African American Black history. So we're going to have to up our game,
Yes.
to counter this new dilemma that we're in.
Yeah, but you still need our history to be taught in the schools. You do. And one of the reasons I think you need that is because everyone is not going to be as aware of this as, let's say, Reverend Johnson or Caleb or Dr. Sharon or Chris. I'm concerned about the kids that don't have that foundation in the home. And the only way they're going to get it is through the school if they get it off. And I don't consider there a real poverty area in San Antonio. Man, you go to DC and you go to Baltimore and Newark, and you see what those kids, what they're being raised in. The mother, may turn 5 tricks to get money in one night, and the kid has to listen to that. That's the children I think we have to be concerned about. So this Skywalker guy talking about, I'm glad he passed that bill. I would put it this way: is ignorant.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
But it's Skywalker. But my point to you, Fred, is
You call him ignorant. I just said his point is ignorant.
but the point is that I think what you're talking about actually goes back to what we're talking about regarding the church. Because if you're not going to get it in schools, if you're not going to get it anyplace else, we only have one institution right now that we can almost claim for ourselves, and that's the church.
Oh, okay, but I go back to that same environment.
Okay.
Those folks aren't going to church. They're not good. There is a whole segment out there. They don't go to church. They don't go to PTA.
But that's what we
They
got to
don't-
change.
Oh,
Well, that's
start
I mean,
there then. Okay.
today's discussion,
Start there. You gotta
today's
change
discussion
that
was about
environment.
the church's intervention
Yeah.
into the schools, right?
And so these churches are going to have to figure out another way of marketing themselves to attract those people who aren't coming in. Sometimes you just have to get downright and dirty and go into those locations to attract those people to come.
But
But
here's
they're not
our
going to do that.
problem,
They're
Sherry.
not going to do that.
Here's our problem.
Hold on. They'll spend. Go ahead. Go ahead.
The thing that Fred and I have talked about offline before is that if you go to a barbershop or whatever, the parishioners are talking about how big a car my minister has, different things like that.
I see the barbershop when that happened.
Right. So my point is that when you don't have the minister talking about it and you don't have the parishioners talking about it, we are in trouble. Go ahead, Fred.
No, I was going to back up what you're saying. I was saying, I was at the barbershop. Two guys were here, and they said, "Well, my minister got a such and such Mercedes. well, my minister got a such and such and."
Right.
And I said to him, "What are you talking about?" And they said, "Well, our ministers have a right to prosperity and all this other stuff."
Well,
So-
you know what? That engagement with the church and schools is a two-way street because one, not only do the kids benefit from that engagement, the mentor-mentee relationship, but the church also gains an equitable interest in the community. So they're not just driving into the community with their Mercedes and BMWs and then driving out.
Yeah.
They now have equity in the kids and in the learning and stuff like that.
Thanks,
So
Sharon.
it's a two-way street.
And with that,
Wise words.
that's gonna keep talking, huh? And with that, we're gonna take a break.